Hello everyone, welcome to Cute Car TV where we look at all the fun stuff. Today we're going to look at EV maintenance and how battery EV cars can save you lots of money. So as you know, EV cars are actually cars that have a battery inside it. So they are different compared to the petrol car engine cars. So the EV maintenance for EV cars is slightly a little bit different, and it saves you a lot of money. So today we're going to go into a list of important parts of the car that you need to look at to maintain throughout the life of the car. So we're going to have a look at it right now. And before we look into EV cars, if you haven't driven an EV car before, please go and just go to your local dealership and drive an EV car, because it's a totally different driving experience. And just go and play around with the buttons and stuff, and play around with the car, drive it here and there and get a feel for it. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just go to your dealership, the nearest one near you, and try an EV car. A cheap one could do, and you understand there's such a different experience when you drive an EV car. So EV cars is a big purchase, so big things come with big responsibility, just like buying a house, having children, getting married, getting your first job. And also cars are also the same. They are a big responsibility. So if you're going to buy a Jaguar, you want to buy a Rolls-Royce Spectre, or you want to buy a BMW i4, or you want to buy any other EV brand out there, before you can buy it just because it's affordable to maintain, you must also understand that the parts are also quite expensive. So it depends on the brand. So just choose what you can afford, and be happy with what you have bought with your purchase, and be able to save enough money so you can also be responsible to actually maintain the car for its entire life. So that's why I said here in the quote here, big things come with big responsibility. So keep that in mind. Next, for those who don't even know what an EV car is, well, an EV car is actually a frame, metal frame, which is made out of, I don't know, sometimes they call it stainless steel, maybe metal or something. And then what they put on the frame is they put a pack of batteries, and then they have 4 wheels, electric motor, intercooler, and then probably the brakes, as well as the computer system, and lots of wires and hoses for the intercooler, and that's about it. There is no gearbox, there is no there is no alternator, there is no engine with all the oil, the piston and all that stuff. They don't have it, because the engine is replaced by the EV motor. So it's a cleaner setup, it's a much better setup compared to a petrol engine. There is no exhaust, there is no catalytic converter, there is no exhaust pipes, nothing. So EV car is a very clean, simple and minimalistic piece of hardware, in my terms, the way I see it. So EV cars are also a modular kind of system. So it's a modular thing. You can replace things, especially like the battery. They can screw all the screws from the frame, take the battery out and replace it. So we'll talk about the battery later, but this is what an EV car is. They call it EV car, but the full sentence, sentence of it, like the full wording of it, is BEV. So it's battery electric vehicle, right? That's why they call it BEV, but it's a bit too long to say it. So I like to say EV car, electric vehicle. Simple, alright? And why is it different? Because it's much simpler. It makes your life easy. You don't have to think so much, right? You don't have to send it to the mechanic and get all dirty with all the oil and everything, all messy in the car. If you're under the hood, you go under the the undercarriage, and then you have all this oil and stuff. It's just a messy job to do. So we're gonna move on. Parts to service. So here are the major, I'm not saying major, I mean the most important components of the EV car which you want to have a look at to service through its life of your ownership, so that you have a good fun experience owning it for many years to come. So we're going to look at the items right now. So here are the list of items of components of the EV car. So I have an example right here, which is the BMW i4, very famous car. I think a lot of people like this. But in an EV car like this, there's an EV motor, which is what they call the engine for the car, but it's a battery engine which uses energy from the battery. So EV motor, and then we have the cooling system, and then we have the brakes, we have the suspension and control arm, battery pack, auxiliary battery, electronic control unit, sensors, tires, air filters, suspension, and brake oils. So these are the couple of things that you want to maintain over the life of your car. And if you do it properly with responsibility, your car can last a very long time, right? Without all the messy things got to do with the changing the oil and stuff. There's no such thing like a petrol car. It's as messy as a petrol car. This one, EV car, is very simple. I'm gonna make this slideshow very simple for you to understand. The first one is air filters. So air filters, you need to replace them every 12 months to ensure that there's airflow, into the cabin of the car. Like, you wanna breathe good air, and also you wanna be able to cool your important components in the car. For example, like maybe the battery zone or whatever. But usually air filters is for the inside of the car, so just replace them, because sometimes all the dust gets stuck in the middle, and then there's leaves and everything. So change your air filters. They're cheap, right? They're cheap stuff. Depend on the brand, what car you buy. If you buy a Jaguar, it may be a bit expensive. Buy a BMW, slightly expensive. But if you buy from Toyota, or you buy from Proton, or you buy from Hyundai or Kia, their air filters are not going to be so expensive. They're going to be cheap. So yeah, just change your air filters. Next one, sensors. So sensors depends where you live, and they need to be changed every 4 to 5 years, because sensors sometimes, they're very important, because an electric car is a very technological piece of hardware where it has lots of sensors in order to make the car function the way it should. So if any of the sensors don't work properly, you're going to have errors coming out on the display of the screen, and it will tell you that the car can't do this, it can't do that. So please regularly do change your sensors if you have to change them, because they're not expensive. But to make sure the car functions the way it should, you must change your sensors, because sometimes if you live in a humid country like in Singapore, right, and in countries like the Amazon, where it's always raining, or it's a very hot climate like in the desert in Dubai, or a winter place where it's always cold and very wet, sometimes the water can actually get into the sensors, and then over time some of the metal parts, they corrode, and then they don't work properly. Or sometimes some parts, they just get wet, you don't know about it, and they corrode, and then suddenly the sensors don't work properly, and the car doesn't really function the way that it just gives you a lot of errors. So you want to check on the sensors. Very important part. A lot of people don't look at these things, but sensors is a very important thing to have a look at it every 4 to 5 years. Next, the tires. So for the tires, you need to rotate them, balance it, or realign it every 16 to 25,000 kilometers or 2 years, because EV cars, they are very heavy, because of the battery, and the car is very heavy, so it gives a lot of weight to the wheels, and it gives a lot of friction, if you know, friction between the tire and the road. Because of the weight, a lot of friction on the tires, so the tires wear out very fast. Depends on how you drive it, and cars are very EV cars are very fast, so the tires tend to wear out fast. So there are two types of tires. There's the normal tires and there are the EV tires. So if you buy an EV tire, it's going to be very expensive, about a few $100s more expensive than the regular tire. So what I would do is, you buy a EV car which uses normal tires, but you buy good quality tires, you know, and then you don't drive them like a sports car all the time. You just drive them as you should, and your tires should last 25,000 kilometers at least. And get those economical tires, you know, 17-inch, 18-inch, you know, it'll be fine, you know. So go and buy like tires, like for the Ora Lightning Cat, they use 18-inch tires. BMW i4, the battery version of the BMW i4 has a 17-inch wheel, which uses a 17-inch tire. So if you can find that wheel and install it onto the BMW i4, you can save a lot of money, because of the tire is much smaller and economical, and you can actually use the same tire for the i4. So buy good tires if they're normal tires, and if they're EV tires, don't drive them, don't use up your tires too fast. And tires are very important, so make sure you get them rotated, aligned and balanced, and just drive safely and you'll be fine. Next, electronic control unit, ECU. This is the brains of the car. This is the computer that processes the information to make the car function the way it should. And without this, your car doesn't do anything. It's just sits there like a vegetable. So this piece of hardware is a really important thing, because it communicates with the all the sensors in the car, and it communicates with all the other hardware in the car, so it makes the car function as it should. And you want to make sure that this component does not break, so you want to make sure to check it, maybe not all the time, but you want to make sure that you send it to the service center and make them do a software update once in a while, so everything is good. And do remember, depends on the brand. If you buy a Jaguar, you buy a Mercedes-Benz or whatever, this electronic unit is going to be very expensive, so be mindful if you're going to keep the car for many years, because this part is an expensive part to replace in case it fails, and it's the brain of the car. So yeah, you know, they're not gonna, when the part gets old, you need to have the same part, the old part, to replace it. You can't use a new part and put it on, unless the manufacturer uses a modular system, which they can just swap in the new parts for the old parts in the old car. Maybe that'd be a great thing, but so far I haven't seen anybody do that. So to keep this in mind. Next one, suspension and brake oil. So brake oil, you got to replace it every 5 years. That will be a good thing to do every 5 years. You want to flush all the old brake oil out and then put in the new brake oil. And also in the suspension, which is the absorber, inside the absorber cylinder there is oil in it. So it depends whether your car uses air suspension or uses a normal suspension with the absorber with oil. Go check out the car you bought and see what oil they use. But you have to change the oil every 5 years. I would recommend that, because you want to make sure that your car actually goes through all the bumps and the potholes and everything. You're driving it all the time. You want to make sure that the car drives smoothly and goes over all the speed bumps and go through all the potholes with a successful rate, because you don't want to damage any components, right? So make sure the suspension works as it should. So you change the brake oil and also the suspension oil, so everything works in harmony. All right, so this oil is cheap. You can get in Malaysia, for example, you can get it cheap, like 30-40 ringgit. It's about $10-20 like that. For brake oil, I'm gonna change it every 5 years. Cheap stuff. Next, the battery pack. So this is the main battery. This is the stomach of your car. Without it, you're not going to go anywhere. So this battery pack needs service every year with a software update. So for example, right, you send your car for service every once in a year. You ask the mechanic or the technician to check for service software update to ensure that the computer, onboard computer for the battery, has a software update in order to manage the voltages and the power consumption of the battery, so it doesn't overheat and also is able to work properly. So manufacturers come up with a software update almost every year to ensure that their batteries are up to date and they function properly. Also, the service technician for the mechanic shop, or the manufacturer service technician will do a safety check to see if the battery has any leaking or any safety hazards, or is it safe to use. If it has any safety issues, then they will replace it under the manufacturer's warranty. So usually the market practice is 8 years. So every 8 years you get warranty of the battery for 8 years. So if the battery breaks in 8 years, they will replace the whole thing for you for free. I mean free.
Wow!
Yeah, you got nothing to worry about. One last thing is don't worry about these battery problems, because batteries, the technology is just getting better every year. So by the time you finish your 8 years warranty, there'll be a new battery out there, and some manufacturers have modular battery. So there's going to be a business one day where people are going to sell new batteries for all cars. So you can just go to the shop and then change your battery like you change the battery in your handphone, like in your iPhone, same thing. Okay, so don't worry about battery changing. Of course, people are going to worry about it right now in 2024, 2025, but don't worry about it. In 8 years time, what year are we living in? 2032, 2031, 2035, I don't know, and it's going to be a very long time. 8 years into the future, you don't know if you want to have to save the car anymore, or you want the car anymore. So yeah, just buy the car, use it for 8 years, and if you think you want to keep the car, just keep it. If you want to replace the battery, at the time, battery technology is cheap, because China said they want to cut the price of batteries by 50%. So the batteries in the future for EV cars are going to be dirt cheap, and no problems going to change the battery at all. You can replace the battery for affordable price. We move on. Next one, auxiliary battery. This auxiliary battery needs to be checked every 2 to 3 years to ensure that the car has enough power to start the necessary equipment. So what does it mean, necessary equipment? Well, the head unit, the air conditioning, there are certain things that you need to start, like the lights, the emergency lights, the interior lights, the radio, stuff like that. So this battery you need to check every 2 to 3 years. Make sure that they have the right voltage and there's no leaking, and the battery is in good condition, so you can start the small little things that you want to start. So that's why important that this battery needs to be checked. Some cars don't have auxiliary battery, they just use the battery from the battery pack, which is a big battery. Some cars have additional battery, which is auxiliary battery. So this is for safety reasons. They have auxiliary battery, so it's easier for the car to start up instead of using the normal battery from the battery pack, the big one. So every car is different, so do check the owner's manual to see whether you have an auxiliary battery in your car. Next one, the EV motor. EV motors can last 15 to 20 years. Yeah, like Tesla's one can last, I don't know, maybe 25 years. But some motors, they don't last that long. So if you want to buy an EV car, do check on the motor, what motor it uses, what technology it uses. And usually it lasts about 15-20 years. So if you want to keep your car more than 20 years, that's up to you, but it lasts about this long. so don't worry so much about it, just use it. Cooling system, well, cooling system is very important hardware. It needs to be cool. The coolant needs to be changed every 3 to 4 years or 48,000 kilometers, which this is my recommendation, because I think the cooling system is very important because it cools the battery. It also cools the necessary components in the car, and batteries cannot be overheated, so the battery needs to be cooled and the car needs to be cooled down if it's very, very hot. So this coolant needs to change every few years to ensure that the battery is cool and maintains the correct operating temperature. And that is really, really important because you don't want your car to blow up. So please change your coolant and ensure that your intercooler system is free from all the dirt and the leaves, and get your technician to clean it up once in a while, all the bugs and everything. So change your coolant, very important thing. Brake pads need to be changed every 4 to 5 years, so 60,000 kilometers, which I would recommend that, because sometimes people don't change it because they think the regenerative braking from the EV car slows down the car, but sometimes your brakes also are used once in a while. So for safety reasons, if you're driving very, very fast on the highway, because EV cars are fast machines. I've driven EV cars and I drive fast, and I have to say, regenerative braking, okay, but it's not like something that slows you down instantly, no, right? Some cars, regenerative braking, you can set the how hard you want it to stop, but some cars don't. So brakes are very important. It's a safety hardware, so you must change them every few years to ensure that you have the right braking capacity in a situation like emergency situation where you have to brake on the highway to get out of harm's way, right? So you want to brake on the right time so you can save your life, right? So brakes are very important, so make sure you have good brakes and your brake pads are not worn out when you drive fast. Next one is suspension and control arm. So because of the car, EV cars are very heavy, and you go through all the bumps and everything, on the road and stuff. Your suspension, all the bushings and stuff, all the rubber stuff that is stuck, they install it on the control arm. It tends to wear out because of the weight, and the suspension as well. Sometimes because of the car is very, very heavy, it tends to worn out faster. So suspension control arm, you have to look at it, check it like every 120,000 kilometers or 5 years, because that's what I recommend to do. Do check it all the time, like every 5 years, and see, because this is the problem with even the normal cars as well. If they're too heavy, they have this issue, right? If you drive it fast and then you drive it a lot, sometimes things worn out is normal. So you gotta check this one, especially when your car's heavier, because there's a lot of weight that the car has to bring along when you're driving left and right, front, back, So do change this part as well. And lastly, we come to the extra tips. How to care for your EV car, extra tips. So if you made it this far, congratulations. I will share to you the extra tips what to do. So the first extra tip is always switch off your radio after use. How many people switch off their radio before they exit the car? Not many, right? But if you do it, then good practice for you, because switch off the radio, because it will use your battery when you start the car. So you don't want to use too much power to start the car, because when you start the car with too much power, you lose power, and that degrades your battery, it gives you less charge. So save a little bit of energy, so just switch off your radio. Second point is, when you get your car for the first time, when you get the EV car for the first time, record the battery mileage at 100% after you receive it from the car dealer, so that you can track how many percentage of the battery degradation per year do you get, and if it goes any below 70% in the warranty phase, you can go and change your battery for free, right? But it's good to know so that when you buy your second EV car in the next 5 years or 10 years, you can understand how EV cars work, and this teaches you how to take care of the EV battery much better. So always when you get the EV car, charge it 100%, then see how fast the battery degrades over the life of the ownership. Like every few years you got to know how many percentage the battery degrades. Next one, always check with your manufacturer for software updates, recalls and warranties. Since EV cars are new technology, so manufacturers will come up with software updates, recalls and warranties. So do check from time to time, and if you have anything to change, which the manufacturer asks you to change, just go to them and get it changed for free. They should change it for free, okay? So that's free. Now the fourth point, very important point, do not charge the battery above 85%. Why? Because you want the battery to last very long and you don't want to overcharge it, and don't leave it below 2% because that will actually kill the battery faster and kill off the cells or the iron, like whatever the chemistry in the battery. You don't want to kill it. So just charge it 85%, use it, and then don't leave it below 2%. That's the best practice you can do for the battery to ensure that the battery has a long life. Next point, decide between an LFP battery or a ternary battery for your EV car or similar. So batteries are coming out, new battery technology coming out, but the ones that we have now in the market are usually the LFP battery, and we have the ternary battery. So the LFP battery is a safer battery. It doesn't catch fire too easily, right? It's a safe battery, but you don't get a lot of range to drive, so you get a shorter range. The ternary battery is a little bit more less safer, but still safe to drive, but it gives you a faster charging rate and a longer charge that you can go make your car go further with every charge you charge a ternary battery. So for those who like to what do you call drive further away and faster, then maybe you want to get ternary battery. But if you want to drive shorter, like city drive, then get an LFP battery, because if you're going to work, driving a car all the time, you don't want your car to the battery to break down easily, then get the LFP battery. But again, you know, both batteries have a pro and cons, so choose wisely about the technology. I'm not going to explain it here, but it's up to you for you to check it out. Next point, get qualified EV mechanic to work on your EV and don't repair it yourself. So EV cars have a high voltage, so if you get electrocuted, you're gonna die. So don't work on it yourself, and get an EV mechanic to do the hard work for you. Just pay him his share of fixing your car or servicing it, because EV mechanic is not like the normal mechanic. EV mechanic is like those specialist EV mechanics that have already been taught what to touch in the car and not to touch, because the EV car has a lot of electricity in it and it's a little bit different to work on. So get a specialist to work on your EV car, and you just trust him, he does the right thing. Next, always park the EV under the shade. This is important so that your car doesn't get wet when it rains. Also, it doesn't get too hot during the day, because EV batteries, if they get hot, it becomes EV cars, when they get too hot, you can't drive it too far, because the battery degrades or so, but something like that, and also you want to make sure the battery doesn't overheat, because if it overheats, they don't allow you to drive it, because of the EV battery is very sensitive. So make sure you keep your car, if you're not driving it, keep it under the shade. So when it's a very hot day, like due to climate change, the temperature in the world is very, very hot, so your car the battery will overheat, and This is bad for the EV battery. And also you want to keep your battery dry, so it doesn't get any moisture inside it. Okay. Next point, always keep record of the problems and parts you service and save the bills. This is for your own bookkeeping, for your history, so you know what breaks and what doesn't, and you can ask the manufacturer to do a service on it, and you can learn how to be much smarter and managing the cost, and also maintaining the car economically. So this is very important point. Next one, if you live in a cold country, warm up the EV battery before driving in cold weather, because batteries in cold weather, they don't get a lot of charge. The batteries don't retain its power, its charge, when in cold weather, so you get less range in cold weather. So what you want to do is, if you have a garage, you charge the battery to full, warm it up for 10 minutes, and then you can drive it out in the cold weather to get enough range, a good range I might say. So this if you drive in a cold country, so do this. Next one is, the last point I might say is, don't drive in salty water, because salty water can corrode metal easily. So it depends on what metal it is, but if the salt water gets inside battery components or under certain parts under the car, you may not see it because you don't check it, because you think that EV cars don't need maintenance that much, so you don't check these kind of things. Eventually, after years and years of time, some metal parts do corrode and they can break because they are not strong like before. So don't drive in salty water. And if you're driving in a flooded place with salty water, do go back and rinse it with the clean water and dry the car up before you charge it. Then don't charge your car when the car is all moisture with water and everything, And also, if you're driving in the flood, make sure you park the car somewhere dry, and then dry the car up. And then after a few hours, then charge the car up and make sure the car is all dry, so that your car will last long. And the reason why not to drive in water is because batteries, if there's moisture, there's a chemical reaction with the battery. So usually the batteries are all sealed up, no water can go inside it. But nothing's 100% perfect in the world, so to save your battery, don't drive in the water too much. Once in a while is okay, but not all the time. It's okay. So here we come to the end of the slideshow. If you come this far, I wishing you that you have a fun EV ownership experience for many years to come. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. And one last thing is, there's not much to service in the EV car, so don't worry about the cost, and don't worry about the battery, because the battery technology is going to be better every few years, and the cost of battery manufacturing will be slashed, to be cut, because that's what China wants to do. They want to make this EV industry sustainable, affordable, and reliable. So folks, if you have money to buy an EV car, just go buy it and enjoy the low-cost maintenance of EV cars and the cleanliness, and also you're also contributing to a cleaner world, a greener world. And remember that all the batteries that you use, you recycle your EV car batteries, they all get recycled back and to become materials for new batteries. So it's a recycling process. It's a very green initiative to use EV cars, and I hope that you understand the purpose of this technology. It makes your life easy and doesn't make you have a headache, and you live a clean life. So yeah, win-win for the environment and yourself. Although the technology is a bit expensive right now, everything new is expensive, but over time things will become much cheaper and much better. So give it a few years, and if you want to buy an EV car now, you have the money, just go ahead and buy it. So overall, thank you so much for watching. and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.